to adopt the agenda?
I'll move.
Okay, do we have support?
Support.
Okay. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. We're gonna move on to presentations, and we have Carrie Metabuso. Thank you, Carrie.
So I wanted to take a moment to share with you all some of the things I've been doing this year with my students with our Lake Superior Stewardship Initiative project, and so I'll try to make this quick for you. This year we had kindergarten through 5th grade involved in our project, plus some of Kathy Hill's high school students. Myself and Kathy spearheaded these projects, and we have partnered with Mr. Dana Richter from the Copper Country Audubon Club, Krista Gardner from Osceola Township, and then Michelle Anderson, who started the Keweenaw Wild Bird Rec nonprofit bird rehabilitation group. So we had 3 goals this year. Our first one is to maintain and expand our outdoor learning area in our school garden. And so I've been involved with LSSI since 2013, and the primary focus has been our garden out there. And so we want to just make sure we keep that going for years to come. And so we plan to add more plants and mulch, and we also built nesting boxes to encourage local bird habitats. And then we wanted to branch out a little bit into the community, so we wanted to engage the students in stewardship by having them assist with the creation of a community garden here in Dollar Bay. Our goal is to have a space for the community members to come together to grow food, learn about healthy eating, and just join together as a group. And then Kathy's portion was to create virtual field trips to help to preserve the history of our area. And so they visited Mason, the Dredge Center, Quincy Mine, Tamarack City, the Hungarian Falls, Lake Linden, Calumet, and Clifton. And they are in the process of creating virtual field trips of all of those sites. So our big community need that we addressed again was the community garden. This is something that's been on Osceola Township's recreation plan for a number of years, and they just didn't have the manpower to get it off of the ground, and so we thought we could help with that because we want to help our community, of course. We learned that planning a project takes a lot of work and a lot of collaboration. The kids, again, have learned about plants, planning, organization, and pollinators, and they also learned about nesting boxes and bird habitats this year. So this is what we did at the community garden, and it's down the street on the corner of 5th and Fir, if any of you haven't seen it yet. We did a lot of planning. The kids planned out what they thought the garden could look like. They measured all the fencing that we would need. They came up with some potential signs for the garden site. We put out some ads throughout the community for our community garden, just to let people know it's coming. This is what it looked like prior to when we got started. And actually, I think it always looked worse than that. People said the grass was like waist high at this site. So this is a good picture of our site. The first thing that happened was the site got leveled, and I think Rick Greb helped with that, although I'm not entirely certain. We put posts in to fence in part of the garden area. That's my husband and I and my dad and the skid steer there. So we have the posts in, purchased some plants for the community garden. We had wood chips delivered thanks to Webben Construction and Northern Hardwoods. The 4th graders were sweating out there, spreading wood chips. And we built planting beds and filled them up with soil. And this is what almost what it looks like. So we built planting beds around the garden for plants, flowers, and then we fenced in the actual food boxes there. And then just a couple days ago, we put the door on the these people have helped, and there's lots that I haven't listed on here, but it was a great collaborative effort between a lot of different groups. Kuna Wild Bird Rec, Michelle Anderson came in, she taught us about nesting boxes, did a lesson with the kids on the importance of them, and then we built nesting boxes for our local bird populations. And we're also growing beetles and larvae that will go to feed the baby birds because baby birds eat a lot, I've learned. So that was that, and then our school garden, this is what it used to look like. Before we started, it was just a bare patch of ground, just dirt, nothing was growing there. And so I just took these pictures today. So it looks pretty green, not a lot of flowering going on right now, except for our shrubs. And so we really transformed that space, that's been really nice. And then Mrs. Hill, this is what she wrote about her project. And so she wanted to really highlight many of the historic treasures of our area, and so she wanted to create virtual experiences that would promote tourism, enriching the community knowledge of the area's history. And so the students researched several of the local historic sites and created virtual experience tours. She's still working on putting them all together, but she's going to share them out as soon as they're done. And this is just one example of the electric park. And so each of those little eyes is something that you can hover over and it'll bring up a piece of information. I personally didn't know that it used to be a park like that. So I learned a lot just from this one field trip, and so she's going to have a number of these out there for you as well. I just want to say thanks to everybody here on the board and on the staff and all the students for supporting all of these endeavors. So
Thank you.
Bravo.
And the reason this is on here in the background is just so that the computer and the projector don't shut down before the next person needs to use it, so just try to
I saw
ignore
it
it.
the first time yesterday.
Okay.
In the church, it's just
Thanks.
amazing, Carrie.
Thank
Great
you.
job. Wonderful addition to our little community. So now we will move on to extended COVID-19 learning plan check-in. Okay, so Christina.
Anybody have a public comment on the extended learning plan? Okay, well, we think this is the last time we're going to have to report on the way instruction has been delivered during COVID. They have not officially told us that we're going to be able to stop, but since regular school is no longer in session, it seems like that's obvious. We had some very high participation rates for May and June, 97%, then 98, 96, 97, 98, and then 96. So we, as you know, have felt very proud of our engagement all through the year and are pleased that we continue the year very strong. As you know, we had mainly in-person learning throughout the year whenever that was allowable, and some of our students did partake in virtual learning and then distance learning, and some were online learners, but again, the vast majority in person, which we felt was an excellent way to reach them. That's about it on that.
Great. So do we have a motion to approve this one's confirmation instruction? I'll make the motion. And do we have support? Jen, do we have discussion? Okay. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We will move down now to public comment. And do we have any public comment tonight? Okay, go ahead. She's been waiting.
Well, actually, I added something to it. I'm Jamie Mack, teach kindergarten here, and I wanted to follow up with what Mrs. Meneguzzo was talking about with our garden. If you go to the bond renovations, over to the Google Doc.
Sure.
Oh, can you refresh? Oh, there, at the top.
Okay.
The last week of school, the fourth graders were planting, and they were using cardboard and doing all kinds of fun stuff in the garden, and Mrs. Meneguzzo asked if the kindergartners wanted to come out and assist or maybe provide comedic relief, I'm not really sure which. And so, it was really fun to see, so I took this video while we were out there. open house with families this year, so our elementary staff teamed up and we were able to put a video together that showcased each classroom. And each child also got to say something in the video. It was shared with parents. And at the end, we made a portion for the bond renovations, and the 5th graders and Mr. Butler took it on. And they went to all the different areas in our school that were able to be improved because of the passage of the bond. So we like to play that for you now.
The volume might need it.
A lot of it is outside, so it's really windy and it's kind of hard to
first
hear, but
portion.
you'll get the gist of it.
This is where the turkey cake used to be, but now it's the office. The gym got major updates. And now the turkey cake is over here. This is where the old rack used to be, but now we have a new elevator. There's a girls' bathroom. And there's a boys' bathroom in elementary. Check out the fantastic lounge for the fantastic teachers. Our new resource room was put in this spot. We have a brand new kindergarten classroom. We have a brand new first grade classroom too. The old superintendent's office, the great new space. This is our new bathroom. On our second floor, we have new sinks and beds. This is the new kitchen for today's delicious students. This is the new lunchroom and also lunchroom too.
That was really nice.
Thank you.
So the passage of the bond has allowed for all of the things that you've seen in the video, and as a recipient of one of the new kindergarten classrooms, I have to say it's fabulous. And having a new bathroom down in our elementary wing with toilets that flush, that's also quite amazing.
Yes. Essential but amazing. Thanks again, that was really nice to share. Okay, so any other public comment? And so Matt, ready?
Yeah, ready to go again. So, again, Matt Zimmer. So, I led off last time talking about some of these good things ideas. One of the things we share with our students, or have our students share with us, some of the good things from their lives, what they're seeing. And one of the things we're seeing today by having some more good things being shared is students kind of know when your kindness is going to be a gimmick, when your kindness is done for shallow reasons. And usually a big giveaway is it's a once and done kind of thing. So we're trying to be a little bit consistent here by showing up again to give you some of the really good things that are happening in our school. And since you can't really give feedback and do follow-up questions, I got 3 of them that I wanted to share, just mostly a lot of them dealing with our students. Our 6th through 11th grade went out to Lake Linden Park for their picnic in the spring here in the last kind of full week of school. And one of the things I noticed as I cooked burgers and hot dogs for all the kids is how many of our kids stopped, went over to me, and thanked me for cooking. Just, that's some of the learning that's happening here. It's just general good manners of what our students are picking up in school. And it wasn't just the 6th grade. In fact, the older the kids were, the more of them were coming to thank. So it just was really phenomenal. And then as the kids were getting off the bus, I was standing up there just making sure they got off so I could do a seat check. It's amazing how many thank the bus driver.
Oh,
as they were getting down those steps, they thanked the bus driver for getting them back to school safe. Just a phenomenal thing that's coming from the students here in this district. So another thing was, Christina Norland was in my classroom just doing a brief visit during math class, checking to see his student interaction, and just about to leave when good things started in my classroom, and just being that interested in our students, she sat back down and took it all in, and just learning more about being part of really the interaction with the students as a principal and superintendent. That's pretty amazing to see, somebody making that much connection with our students. So that was a really good thing to see. And finally, I had an hour-and-a-half-long interview with a grant evaluator as part of the Students to Stewards thing that runs in the ISD and through Lake Superior Stewardship Initiative. And they were trying to really pinpoint what's making things like the SWORD program, the community garden so successful in Dollar Bay. And one of the things I had to say was, we have phenomenal administration support and school board support for when teachers are kind of going on the edge of what they're doing. The SWORD program is kind of this uncharted program, but I've never been restricted or questioned in what my students are doing or how we're using our funds or any of those type of things. And that's really been making that program successful, is the students really feel a sense of ownership of their programs here. And that comes by administration saying, yeah, we trust you as an education professional, make it happen. So that's a really good thing. But I appreciate it because there's been freedom to do that. So those are 3 good things that I've noticed in the last weeks of school, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Do we have any other public comment tonight? Okay. I guess we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Is there a recommendation to approve the items on the consent agenda? The regular board meeting minutes, financial statements, checks from the previous month. Do we have a
Louder,
motion?
please.
Do we have a motion for the recommendation to approve the items on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
And do we have a second for that?
I'll support.
Okay, do we have any discussion on it? Okay. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Moving on to superintendent, principal report. Christina?
Yes. Well, it is the end of the school year, the end of our fiscal year, and I wanted to share that so often throughout the year, I have just felt so much gratitude. It's just been, obviously a very hard year for many people in many ways, and I've come back again and again to gratitude, and there has been so much to be grateful for here in our school, with the families of this school, the teachers, the staff. So I appreciate everybody who has contributed to making this difficult year also a very, very good year. So it's important that we all acknowledge the good that is here and the blessings that we have and be grateful for them as an actual act. So gratitude is a theme. The year in review, obviously it's been COVID year, but at the beginning of the year we had a different change, another kind of a change where we had our 6th grade move up to the middle school. That was a big deal, and those kids definitely did start the year feeling very timid and unsure, and not everybody thought it was the best idea, meaning the 6th graders on their first day of school, but it really did turn out very well, and they've been a really nice addition to our middle school, and the transition has gone very well, and I recommend that we continue with that. COVID year-wise, we had 4 kind of regular weeks of school. Of course, we had some intense training on what COVID was going to mean in our school and how we were going to function. We decided that from day 1, we were going to follow the health department's recommendations, and we did that, and we enforced masking, and we had a lot of sanitizing and hand washing and all of those things, and we don't have any complaints. It wasn't always perfect, it wasn't always extremely easy, but we were consistent, and so it worked. And we had very, very low numbers of COVID in our school and absolutely 0 cases of transmission within our school. So we had 4 weeks at the beginning of the school year with most of our students in person, teachers teaching both in-person students and using Google Meets to teach those who were remote at home, and also some students opting for the online option. And after those first 4 weeks, the health department shut all of the Copper Country ISD schools down for 2 weeks, and everybody went remote. I'm very proud to say that we had excellent feedback from parents from the kindergarten through the 12th grade level. The fact that our teachers were meeting our students' needs, they were connecting with them, helping them socially, emotionally, and also really teaching them. We were not going through the motions, we were teaching them, we were doing school. Several more weeks of in-person happened then, and then the 9th through 12th grade were forced to go remote, again by the health department for all of December and then a few days still of November. And when asking high school students, what was that like, what's it like, they would say things like, it's school. It's school, we're going to class every day, you know, and we're learning, it's school. And that's not the most exciting answer, but it was good because that was our goal. And a lot of them had really great things to say, and we're very grateful for their teachers and the connections they made with their fellow students every day, meeting with every class for every session. Except for Fridays, which was a flex day, which everyone also appreciated too, so students could work on small group stuff and teachers could connect individually with students. It was an excellent schedule that the teachers set up before the school year began, and it worked. The rest of the year after that point was in person for the vast majority of our students, with the exception of those families who opted for virtual distance or online options due to COVID concerns or whatever reasons that they might have had. More and more students did come back to in-person learning by the end of the school year, so we ended with very few who were remote or online. Teachers learned to do phone parent-teacher conferences. I mean, obviously they would have known how to do that, but they had to this year, and we still had excellent attendance at parent-teacher conferences. And again, parents shared appreciation. We are very, very grateful that the sports seasons happened. There was a lot of uncertainty about that, and so it's just something to celebrate that all of our sports got to take place this year. We did have a basketball season for junior high cut short, that's true, and we did have a big delay to our high school basketball season, and yet we still got to compete and our students got to shine. And that really helped a lot of them, again, socially, emotionally. End of year ceremonies and events got to happen. We had some senior awards ceremonies, we had the athletic so-called banquet, although we weren't able to eat this year, program. And we even got to have our all-important graduation ceremony, and a lot of people put a lot of effort into making that an excellent graduation ceremony, so we thank everyone who was involved, and again, it went very well. Teachers and staff this year learned quite a lot. Things that we might have expected to learn and things that were unexpected. Some of the things we learned from COVID we'll even be able to continue using because, you know, we might have learned something that actually benefits students and benefits our classes. The students learned a lot. Was it a waste of a school year, as a lot of people have said? I've got friends who live in other parts of the country whose kids got to go back to school for 2 half days a week in April. And those parents were saying, what a waste of a year. We're so disheartened and so disappointed. And we get to look around and say, what an awesome school year. Kids learned, they grew, they got to have all their classes, they got to get all their credits, and it was a valuable time. Student behavior issues were lower than ever before. We don't exactly know why. A lot of us have hypothesized about it. Some people think that wearing the masks kind of diminishes the little side comments that might happen here and there that might cover up some of the dirty looks that might happen in class, maybe. Some of us hypothesize that all the extra outdoor time that everybody got helped quite a lot. There is research that points to that. So a lot of students were getting mask breaks in the middle of classrooms, and even high schoolers were going out for kind of mini recesses just to get a little break from those masks, and the elementary kids, same thing. So was that it? We don't know, but we're just really grateful that those behavior issues were lower than ever. It's possible that the students too felt grateful, and they were just like, here we are in school together with each other, with these people who love us. Let's just do the positive thing and make the best of it. The garden project that Mrs. Meneguzzo spoke about was a huge thing, an outdoor thing in that theme, but I mean, a huge benefit to the community and to the school and teaching the kids to be stewards and to make the world a better place. I don't know what more we could ask for. A lot of people, from kids to adults, learn to be grateful for the blessings that we do have and the blessing of being together and learning together. Currently, we have summer school up and running, 8 weeks, 2 sessions of 4 weeks. They're meeting Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with Mr. O'Connor in the air-conditioned first floor computer lab. So that is off to a good start, and we have 11 students. That's a pretty decent number in summer school. Preschool preparation continues. Our new teacher director came today. She just moved up from downstate, and she got to check out this space for her first time, and she was really thrilled and also overwhelmed to see it, but I think that that's really, really gonna go very well. Staff changes. We have some goodbyes that we need to say and some hellos. We've said goodbye to some of our staff members at our last meeting, or a few of our teachers have had to move on, and we just got word that Jenny Butler, an awesome teacher and a huge part of our school, is making a move to a position that suits her passion a little bit better, so we are very sorry and regret that we have to see her go. And yet we're grateful that we have a new teacher, Mrs. Melody Whitley, who just moved up here. Her family is from Toivola area, and she just moved to Atlantic Mine down the road from Mrs. Hill. And she will be a new teacher here at our school, assuming that the board approves her hire. We have the scheduled work well underway for next year's middle and high school, and we'll be meeting soon to determine the school year calendar. So these are all good things. And as I mentioned before, when Nancy asked about the Copper Island Academy, we have only 5 students that we've been told are going over there. Some other schools locally are dealing with really big changes in numbers, and that's going to be very difficult, and our hearts go out to them as they try to manage those changes. And finally, the construction project. Wow, as the 5th graders showed you, there have been so many incredible improvements, and every day we get to notice those and appreciate them. Every day there are parts of our days that are just made better because of these improvements that we've been able to see. Some of the Moyle folks will be coming back, I think next week, to finish up most of the final work for the construction project. We'll be getting some counters, some tables and some stools in the entryway. There's a little bit more landscaping work to do, a few other bits and pieces, some carpeting in a few different places, but it's kind of going to be wrapping up with maybe just a few things remaining after this summer. So we're really excited to see that finish, and if you walked in, you definitely saw piles and sections of clutter and random things around, because we're working hard this summer to get rid of all the stuff that we've found we don't need as a result of the construction project, need to find new homes. Things that have just been kicking around closets for 20 years, it's time to say goodbye to all that stuff. And so we've got some student workers working really hard to get that stuff out to the bus garage, and then hopefully the board will support the idea of the athletic department taking on a sale so that they can profit from saying goodbye to those things that we don't want anymore. With the COVID restrictions lifting, in an official way tomorrow, we can have a ceremony, so I think it is time to rename that gym in Mr. Borsum's honor, as we had discussed doing throughout the year, and as we were purchasing the property from the Borsums. So I reached out to them to see if there's any possibility of them coming to the UP this summer. Haven't heard back yet, but if they're able to be here, then obviously it would be awesome to have them here, and if not, then we'll plan it and find a way to share it with them. And then finally, again, I'm very grateful for all that's happened, for the construction, for the year, for the improvements, for the teachers, for the staff, for the board. There's just so much to be grateful for. So I thank everybody, and I encourage you all to practice gratitude as well. One more thing, just a PS, I'm sure everyone's wondering, well, what's the deal right now with COVID regulations and school? Nobody really knows. We're all in this very unsure phase. I was just on the phone with someone at the health department today, and they said that we're supposed to get something by tomorrow from the MDHHS to really confirm what they want us to be doing in schools. It didn't come. I was hoping it would by the board meeting so I could share that with you. Meanwhile, the MHSAA, Michigan High School Athletic Association, has sent out information saying that the lifting of the mask requirements tomorrow applies to everybody everywhere, and the MDHHS didn't necessarily say that, so we're kind of just waiting for people downstate to figure that out and let us know what we need to know, and then meanwhile we're just trying to operate the best that we can in the safest way we can. Okay, any questions?
How was the senior trip?
Fantastic. And some of the students were asked if they would like to take another trip with Mrs. Hill, the senior class advisor, and her husband, and they said, yes, absolutely. And Mr. Hill said, I think we're gonna have to think about that. They had a great time in the Eagle River area. The lot of just hanging around the campfire. I guess, what was it, not go-karting? No, is that what they had the best time doing? Go-karting was really fun, just like the old-fashioned, like Northwoods kind of things that you do. They had a good time, thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Sounds wonderful. So we are going to move on to action discussion items. We have a recommendation to grant the
Business
beach.
manager.
Oh, we're doing something? Oh, down Tyler, you made it to see us, we gotta have you talk.
Thank you.
Some more.
First off, I just wanted to thank the staff, the board, Christina. There was a lot that happened in the business office. We took on managing of all the bond expenses. So our office saw a lot more things come through than it normally would. And I wanted to thank everybody for all their patience. You guys have been fabulous to work with. It feels like a family here. And, tears me up a little bit to be welcome, so thank you. It is with a sad heart, however, many of you have known, but our longtime auditor, Debbie Bradford has passed away. She was at Rukla Negro for many years, and we just found out, I believe it was last week or the end of the prior week, that Rukla will no longer be doing our audit, so they passed off all the schools this year. The ISD, Jason and I are currently looking for another CPA firm to do our audit this year, and it looks like it's going to be, we have two candidates, one out of Marquette and another one maybe downstate, depending on who's able to take on all the local districts. So I just wanted to share that, let you folks know what's going on. Debbie touched a lot of hearts, I'm sure many of you
Yeah.
were. Karen, I know. So just wanted to share that and keep you up to date. We expect the audit to continue as normal. There might be some slight growing pains as the new firm, learns the district, but we'll keep you up to date on that. For our financials this month, everything continues on track. I'm trying to find out what it is. No unexpected expenses. We had a small month of bill paying in capital projects, just 2 checks. Where they ended up right here. And the one to Thomas J. Moyle there almost wraps up everything that we owe them. We have one more pay application, and then our contract is satisfied with them. And then the rest of Christina, I know, is working closely with Tim. And then as we communicate with the board on what we plan to do with the rest of those funds. So we had 3 years from the date of when the bond funds, we received them to spend those, so we have until next year, but we expect to spend a vast majority of them this summer, with the carpeting and so on and so forth. And with that, I'll pass it on back to you, Donna. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler, for a good job being with us as well. Pleasure to have you. And we're gonna move on now to the action discussion items. We have a recommendation to grant the DBTC Athletics Department ability to run and receive the profits from a summer rummage sale to dispose of unneeded items, with the exception of surplus woodshop items, the sale of which would benefit the woodshop program. Do we have a motion for this? Do you want a second, Steve? Okay. Now, is there a discussion on this?
Yeah, what kind of stuff? Okay.
Out there? Jeff wants to know what kind of stuff's out there.
Really nice stuff. We've got some very old desks, we've got some old chairs, we've got some lockers in various conditions. We have the woodshop item that's really nice is, Tyler, maybe you can speak more to it, is do you want to explain?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a cabinet table saw, really nice grizzly model. But at some point in the past 3 or 4 years, the district purchased a saw stop, which is very safe. Some of you may be familiar with the term, but it's very safe for the students to use, especially in that setting, when they're learning about all these new machines. So Rob Rowe, our current woodshop teacher, had mentioned to me, he stops drops into the office oftentimes before he goes down to his class, that it's taking up a lot of space, and he'd like to, once the sale is happening, if the board gives their blessing, put it up for sale, and hopefully give some additional funds to the wood shop. Maybe buy new equipment, or what the needs are there. That was a way he thought he could help out, his little area of the school, so.
Yeah, chairs of all kinds, some upholstered, some not. You're like maybe some tables. We're envisioning that other organizations throughout the community might want to come and see if there's anything that they could use in, their buildings, whatever kind of operations they had. Not a lot for a homeowner, although there's also going to be an opportunity for teachers to get rid of junk. We've got like 35 plastic cowboy hats. If anybody wants one, just any number of random things like that.
What size?
I don't know. Yeah, so actually we give you one for free then. Textbooks, other books, there's just gonna be all kinds of random things. And we're hoping to have the sale on July 2nd, I don't know if it says that. Obviously the big 4th of July weekend, the 3rd, everyone is gonna be all hands on deck with the chicken barbecue, of course, and the day before. If we do have other like businesses type people, then during the workday it would make sense for them to come over and check that out on that Friday, and then a lot of people will be in town just for the weekend too. If anybody wants to offer your own stuff, you could, and then the idea is we will likely rent a dumpster after that, and things that didn't get sold, or people, we think we'll just have them make a donation and not really go the price tag route, we are just going to get rid of. When I spoke with my colleague Jim Radiola at Stanton Township, he strongly recommended the dumpster method. They had some improvements to their school with the construction project a few years ago, and they took the same opportunity just to get rid of, clean out closets, get rid of stuff that shouldn't be here, cluttering up the hallways, whatever, get rid of it. So that's kind of our plan. Rod Rose's suggestion for at least the saw and any other items that he decides to, that the wood shop doesn't need, is to set a minimum bid and then have people basically provide secret bids, and whoever bids the most gets to have the saw. If the board would agree to that.
Okay, so, do we have so that was our discussion, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, so we'll move on. Do we have a recommendation to approve the 2021-2022 MHSAA membership resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. So Steve and Jeff support it, okay. Any discussion?
No, more explanation.
Same thing we do every year. Yeah, we're a member of the Michigan High School Athletic Association that allows us to compete with the other schools that are MHSAA members, which is all the schools we compete with, and we have to do this resolution in order to continue that. It's just a matter of course every summer.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So moving on, do we have a recommendation to reopen use of school facilities by outside groups? I would make that motion.
I'll support it.
Do you have discussion on this?
I'll just review that. At the beginning of COVID, the board decided that we weren't going to let outside groups use the school anymore. It's something we've pretty openly shared, the facilities for many years, but due to COVID and the restrictions and the sanitizing requirements and everything else, we opted not to do that. Now with restrictions lifting and groups wanting to come back and everything just changing, it's just recommended that we go back to how it has always been. I've had a couple of people say, could we come in and play some basketball and that type of thing, and we'd like to let them do that.
Okay. So, no other discussion, anybody else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Moving on to D, we have a recommendation to accept the resignation of Jenny Butler. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion with regret. And I will support that.
Is there a second?
Dave supported it.
That was me.
Sorry. Okay, any discussion on it? Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Yeah, with much regret, we wish her well though.
unlike ours, she comes with multiple endorsements, kind of a strange grade level endorsement, as I think I mentioned to you last month. She's certified at the 5th to 9th grade level for specific subjects, and also at the K to 5 level for individual classrooms. She's certified at the 5th to 9th level in ELA, social studies, and science. And so we are able to plug her into our schedule in a lot of ways that we have needs. I think I also mentioned last month that, some just little shifts that we've got going on mean that we do need somebody to help us at that middle school level. And Johnson will hopefully be teaching 2 sections of band, so we can have a middle school and a high school band split. That means she can't be teaching social studies 6th grade. Who's gonna do it? This teacher can do it. Jesse Kentel obviously left us mid-year. He was teaching 6th grade English. Kevin Butler took over and helped. Then Mr. Boyd, our long-term sub, we need somebody to teach that. Melody Whitley can do it. She can teach science. She can teach, and she loves science actually at 6th and 7th grade level. She can teach computers, and that might allow another one of our teachers to be able to teach them something else that they're certified in. So it's just going to be helpful in a lot of ways. And I was able to fill up her schedule immediately when I started playing around with it. Yeah, and she comes very highly recommended by the folks that I was able to get in touch with as references for her, and it was said that she's one of the best teachers people have ever seen, so let's hope we're able to see that here.
Was she just looking to get back to her roots, or?
Yeah, pretty much. They were tired of the hustle and bustle in North Carolina, where they had lived for many years. They've got 3 kids who she is hoping to send here, so hope that happens as well. And yeah, they just wanted to move here to kind of a little bit more of a quiet, nicer paced life, and they love the area, and they're prepared for the winter. They've been here in the winter before, and hopefully all will be well. Unfortunately, they had to move on like the hottest, muggiest day of the year, but they managed that too.
Wow, we don't have any of them, so.
Right.
So any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Moving on to finance, general fund, food service, and special activities fund. Recommendation to adopt 2021 final budgets as presented. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to adopt those final budgets.
And I'll support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Moving on, we have a recommendation to approve state aid note borrowing
Oh, no.
resolutions.
We gotta do the B part still. Is that off yours?
Yeah, that's not on this one.
Oh, this one, yep.
Yeah. Recommendation to adopt the 2021-22 original budgets as presented. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that.
And do we have support?
I'll support it.
And do we have discussion? Okay. Alrighty then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Moving on to 2, we have a recommendation to approve state aid borrowing resolutions. Is there a motion? And I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Do we have discussion?
Maybe just a recap of.
A nutshell version of what we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the state aid note borrowing resolution, school districts do not receive any state aid payment from the state of Michigan in the month of September. So this, by borrowing money, we borrowed money last year as we have in the past several years, will allow us to continue operations and fund our cash flow. By doing a state aid note, we participate in the Michigan Finance Authority. It's a big pool of schools that are on the state that do this, and we have reduced interest costs, so that's why it comes up every year. Hopefully, at some point in the future, depending on how budgets end up, we'd like to stop borrowing money, but at this time, due to constraints, we continue to operate with the state aid note. So,
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. And number 3, we have a recommendation to approve the 2021 tax request form L429 as presented. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll support. Do we have discussion?
just a note on this, this is property, and then our debt millage is on there as well, so no change in that this year. Next year, we may see a slight change due to increased property values. We ran an analysis through our financial advisors, PFM, and they recommended to keep our current amount of levy for the debt millage. But other than that, no change. We plan to levy 18 mills on all non-homestead property, and then 6 mills on commercial personal property. So same as last year, nothing has changed.
Thank you, Todd. Any more discussion on it? All in favor, aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to any old or new business. I do have a letter here to read to the new business. This is to the DBTC Board of Education. Our mission as a DBTC Sports Booster Club is to support the athletic programs, student athletes, and coaches of the Bay-Tamarack City School District. We have been able to offer additional support to the DBTC Athletic Department and also assist with celebrating our athletes' accomplishments. This year has presented challenges, but our club persisted and recently accomplished a goal of our own. Our first major fundraising goal was to replace and expand the safety padding in the DBTC gymnasium. The newly installed padding will ensure the safety of all that use the space for physical activities. In the middle is a newly designed We Are DB graphic, bringing us back to the days of the Cracker Jack Palace. The club has chosen to conduct a dedication ceremony at a future DBTC event. This project was made possible by community gifts, community support, DBTC Athletic Department, and the J. Pelcher Construction Company. We especially want to take the time to extend our gratitude to Jeff Pelcher and his crew at J. Pelcher Construction for the significant donation of construction services to complete the installation. It is these community partnerships that help organizations such as ours thrive. Best regards, the DBTC Sports Booster Club. Oh, that's really nice. Really nice. Okay, so any more old or new business?
I just wanted to add one thing to new business. Next year, we have the same funding in food service. However, we should look at increasing our paid lunch equity, the amount that people that pay for lunch, maybe 10 cents. We don't have to do that right now. But just in order to, what the federal government wants us to do is basically increase the rates that we charge for paid lunches to the amount that they reimburse us at. So something we could look at a later date, but just an FYI. As we go into next year with free lunches for everybody, we don't want to forget about that, so
Okay, thanks, Kyle.
just keep you up to date.
Great. Any more old or new business? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I'll support it. No discussion on that one, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, have a good evening.
We get a printed agenda, just roll. Just stop. I take this writing. We're not going to. All these reports. They're linked. Hyperlinks. Questions. Everybody. And I'll read that loud.
Yeah, they're actually over there somewhere, they just haven't been taken out.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it's not nice to go
It is.
back when it has a life design.
Oh, man.
Or is it already there?
I'm not ready to purchase land from last year. That's okay, right? Even if you want them at the end of past years.
Yeah, they oversee.
Yeah. Even if you're looking for a fall, saying, we got our freezer cleaned out.
That's right. That's right there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the sign doesn't give it, and it's not a good, if you're already here.
Right.
Keeping up, and then I'm not really.
Oh, yeah.
Say
You would have to try and,
You
you don't want to, like with us, we had to get food from somewhere, and we could supply the ram. Because right now we just have one ram, so you wouldn't want to go that route. And I don't know what it means, like, you know, and some, like for us, it worked out really weird where Steve Polisari let the shoes rent, we were just gonna feed it. But then he never collected it. And then I called him once and I said, did you want your ram back? I mean, we have no trouble feeding it, we're happy we were able to do that. Do you need him back anytime soon? That's where he went. No, I don't need him back. He was looking to get out of it cheap anyway, so he's like, oh, I'm happy. And then we ended up buying 2 weeks last year when it was such a bad season. We bought 5 lambs and I ended up, he gave me a deal on 2 ewes for less than which was, and they were just awesome. Yeah, we really like those 2. We're all getting along. I'm going to go moving tonight. Every day we move them. But Maggie was, what a great girl, Josh. Just reassuring, never got a phone call. You checked on the weather and everything. I'm not here. Yes. It was kind of like, let's see, and they did a trial run in, during spring break, because we ran to Escanaba for 3 days. And so they kind of got a feel of it before anything was on pasture. And they kind of got a feel, and they stayed at that place just to see what it's like, and then so they were ready for it for a full week. And actually, they had, our last ewe had triplets when they were watching. And so we had her isolated in a kind of a jug, like a bigger jug, but in a jug. And then when they opened the door to give her fresh hay, she charged out, and then the only thing we could do quick was run and loose in the barn, was open the gate and let her in the other ewes. And so they called me and said, what do you do? I'm like, nothing. I said, if she does give birth, all you need to do is take her little slowly into the new stall, and she will follow. Because there's no way you're going to separate her without knowing. So, but yeah, and that's what they ended up doing. They had triplets, and they just took the first one, the second one, and went to the third. She just followed the third one.
Well, take care, Cindy.
That's so
Were you recording?
And they're like, it works so well. I'm like, I know, because Mama's going to go with them. Cool experience for them.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, take care.
Moving fence, you know, moving fence every day, and here's how you do it. And I've learned when I used to have Meg carrying them, just watch them, how you can't just go out there and show her how to do it. You have to make them pick up the fence, collect the fence, and restake the fence with you watching, and so you can, because I can coach you. And first you're like, this is kind of weird. I'm like, I know, but it's much easier to do it the first time with me here. Kind of give you a hint here and there, but then just watch me, because it's not going to work the same for you.
Right, because that thing when you say, having good keeping, hold it like this, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So you know, there's one time we had to basically move one fence, and when you lift up the one, they run underneath it. But it said, you gotta get the ewes ready to go. So you pretty much have to say, okay, girls, you ready for some new grass? Are you ready to go, girls? And they're gonna come to you, and then you just lift it up, and they'll run underneath. And so I'm like, go ahead and try. And so Maggie's there, and she's ready to let go. You do have to talk to her first. She looks at me like, I'm actually serious. And so she's like, okay, girls. And she says that, and the 5 ewes go, and run right to her. And she's like, it worked. It worked. Yeah, and they don't even at least know the words. Yeah. So, yeah, that's great. That was fun. I mean, so that worked out. But yeah, I put 600 square feet of floor in my sister and brother-in-law's house. They live in Menominee area, Wisconsin. It's about a 5-hour drive. So he came up about a month ago and picked up my trailer and a load of flooring, so he could bring it into his house and just make sure the moisture levels are about the same. And so then I was there, and then we just drove down. Actually, I had to take 2 different vehicles so I could bring all my equipment. So the truck was packed with equipment, and then Amy had the kids and luggage. So, but yeah, we had to drive separate, and caravan there and caravan home. So yeah.
Sounds great though.
It was, it was really, like, for me, it was just a busted no, but I can't just sit on the beach either. I just be going nuts trying to do that, so, but I mean, you know, kind of peek at the kids here and there, and they're just laughing and having fun. And, I mean, Carl would run down the hill, jump off the docks like 40 times, just run and jump, run and jump, run and jump, run and jump, run back inside, change and go play Legos. And like an hour and a half later, he'd change back into his suit and run down and jump off the docks a bunch of times.
That's the life.
And so, yeah, I mean, just seeing them fully live out and take advantage of it, that was just perfect. We had beautiful weather every single day. There's only 2 days where it got pretty sticky and humid, but it's Wisconsin in the summer. So yeah, we're doing really well.
Peter, can you get from Matt the names of the places, the meat bird places? Because we need to order them, and I keep forgetting.
Oh.
Matt found 2 good sources for meat birds. He's talking about we need to order those right away. If you can get that on your phone.
I just use this pen already. Oh, absolutely. No, they were awesome. I don't know if we can make every word, but we think it's kind of important that gets at least heard on board.
And my son was so young.
Yeah.
It could have been because the grandma's marathon was.
So.
Oh, that's what I have heard, that Mark.
No, they're in Wisconsin.
Elevated.
Right, and they have a website, but you basically have to call. So you're gonna call to order. And then they're gonna mail you a bill, or mail an invoice.
Well, I think I'm gonna skip out.